All right, so let's talk about some announcements. I'm going to just keep talking about them till the season's over. So if you don't like announcements, for those on YouTube, you can go ahead and skip over. But these are really important to me, and I really appreciate when you guys listen to these announcements. I put a lot of my time into them. Just hear me out. I know I repeated this last time, but my 2017 Patreon videos are going to be released around the 20th or the 19th, most likely the 20th, or sometime before the last class, so I can actually tell people that, hey, I have a bunch of videos now. Like, the views on these are like 2 each or 3 each. My patrons are like the best people ever, and they don't really watch the stuff that I give them because they're there just to support. But I'm ready for people to watch these videos. They're time lapse of my personal work. Every painting you've seen on my Instagram, I have a video for. So let's go into Instagram.com. So I've got a video for this coming up. This is for January. I've got a video for this. I have a video for this and this. I have a video for this and how I painted it. I have a video for this and how I painted it. These two, I think. This one is separate. I think I have a video tutorial on how I did this. I have video tutorials going all the way into, I think, these 2 sketches, these 4 right here. Definitely one of these. Definitely this one. I have video tutorials for these, but I think these were from last year. I have a lot of tutorials coming up that are going to be all about, and I have a lot of sculpting as well that I did with ZBrush. So two at the early of months of the year, and a sculpting video that I released. Oh, I haven't added it. So November and then December, which I just had. Let me add that real quick so you guys can see it. It's about sculpting as well. So when these are out, please watch them. They have a lot of content in them, a lot of my personal voice, and I, of course, release them first to patrons. So for those interested in getting these for the coming year, you just have to go, to my Patreon and join. My Patreon is going to be undergoing a massive overhaul change. It's going to be going through a lot. There's going to be a private, one of the biggest changes that's coming up is there's going to be a private Discord, not the current public Discord that we have, which is also a little bit private, but a completely patrons only Discord group, which will be hosting, I'll be hosting streams for and through, I'll be hosting hangouts for and with, I'm going to be doing a lot of that stuff. So for those interested and those who have an interest in private tutoring, but it's just not really in their price range, then yeah, that might be an option for you. Another thing that's going to be coming up is lessons on Patreon. So Patreon, I'm going to be posting a lot of assignments there as well. So it's going to be design challenges, portrait challenges. I'm going to give out a study. And then the study, those who study will, of course, answer to this, to the kind of the due date of the study on Discord, and I critique thereafter. Again, another alternative for those who want to join a collective group of private tutoring, but not necessarily can afford the one-on-one private tutoring that I offer. And all of these are starting in 2018. So I think I just added it right over here. Where are you? December Patreon. I think this was it. The December Patreon. Yeah, this was it. I already had it in there. So yeah, that's a lot of stuff coming up. My brush sets have been released and are available as a bundle. So right here, all my brushes are available with one brush set off. This is only for Christmas. This is going to go back up. It is going to be significantly less for buying all 4 at the same time, but it is going to be a little bit more than this. But this is the lowest. It'll go with one brush set off. So for those who are interested in my brushes. And whenever I release a new set of brushes, I head over to the community and check your class notes. So after today's class, I give a class notes reward. I give my brushes out to reward those who have been taking really good notes. So let's go to the class notes category here. Whoever takes good notes gets a reward, and it's going to be for the whole month of December. So the critique hours that I've been hosting since December, where are you? December 5th, all the way into December 19th. So between here, we've got, I think I skipped one of these days. I'm not sure if I had a class for all of these yet. But yeah, there's going to be a reward given out for those who take good notes. So I like seeing notes like these, notes with diagrams, thorough notes. This one is a definite contender. I love seeing notes on paper too, to show that these people are actually involved. They have a notebook dedicated. Taking notes is a big deal. It's good to show your parents, hey, I am involved in this learning process. So I value notes so much. I value them more than making a brush sale. And that's why I'm using this as a chance for you guys to push forward through your laziness and become active listeners to your classes. So this is a big epidemic that we have when nobody actively watches lessons. I mean, lessons are 5 minutes long. How can you take, I know outside of my channel, how can you take notes on a 5-minute class? But at least my classes are long enough that the notes can actually be thorough and effective, and you can show them to everyone who doubts your dedication to your art. So this is a really, really big, one of my New Year's resolutions. I want to force you guys to take more notes and get you into the habit of making beautiful, sexy lists that help deconstruct really, really complicated themes. Art is filled with really complicated themes and fundamentals. And taking notes is just the best thing, especially because we're visual thinkers. So having a diagram beside each note, as I describe it, is an excellent way to get yourself actively involving your all hemispheres of your brain. I'm not sure which is responsible for which. So I think that's it. So the Patreon lessons are going to be live 2018. The videos are going to be released very soon of the last year of Patreon videos. I think I'm going to be releasing a video announcing each Patreon month, announcing the assignment. So whatever the challenge that there is going to be for Patreon, for the subscribers on Patreon, we'll get the video announcement as well describing the assignment, and then I get all the assignments handed in through Discord, and then I assign them there. So it's not going to impede on Critique Hour. Critique Hour, I still prioritize choosing stuff for Critique Hour through here. Critique Hour is not going to get affected. This community is still the backbone of Critique Hour. You guys are still the main focus, but Patreon is a way for those who want to get a little bit more time in critique, or a little bit more outside of Critique Hour, private style, but outside of private tutoring, which is too expensive for some people, for a lot of people. Just to get their foot in the door a little bit, to get more focused lessons. I think that's it. Thank you for those who were listening to my announcement and did not skip away. So, this piece here is a big challenge. It's a big deal. So let me exit Discord real quick because it gets really annoying. So yeah, this piece is the person who made this. They wanted the feeling that it was like a prism in light, in white light, and they were getting like a rainbow, if they wanted a rainbow effect. So with this, I can't talk about this right now, but possibly have to save it for the end of class. But this piece right here, it might take up a lot of my time. So I'm going to save that to the end of class and try to get through the smaller pieces. So one of these, this is a full paint over. I have to make a Portrait Studio copy of this, and I'll keep these all at the same level. I think this is from the same artist, is it? Is this the same artist? I'm really not sure if it is. I'll look at one first, and then I'll move on to the guy with the egg-shaped head, and then move on from there. So right here, I'm getting my soft brush, and I'm starting with the biggest mistakes, which are value sharing mistakes. And if this is the same artist, which I think it is because they had the exact same error twice in a row, you put too much shadow on one side of the nose, the side that looks at the light. If something looks at the light, it's exposed to the light, so it can't have any shadow sitting on top of it unless someone got some paint and painted over it. This is bad news. We can't have these kinds of issues in our thinking about what happens with light or not. Sorry, I just accidentally unmuted my video. So with this is one of those big things that I look for when I'm diagnosing what a student has left to study. This here just got you 2 weeks of 2 weeks of form studies right here. You just bought yourself 2 weeks of form studies with this. The fact that you didn't read that this is a very different value from this is a big deal. Yeah, okay, fine. Your rebuttal might be that it was just slightly lighter than this, so you made them a different value at least, but it was still too dark. You have either dark values from a dark neighborhood or light values from a light neighborhood, and that's it. You don't really have you don't really split hairs when it comes to whether or not the values are exactly the same. Value sharing is about values too similar to each other. Similar is the key word here. It isn't exactly the same value, but similar. Next up is how masculine you made her face, and how asymmetrical the nose is, because you were trying to go for that side view image right here. So I don't know which one I wanted to start with. It doesn't matter now. Like that sort of partial 3/4 view, but it wasn't that intense of a 3/4 view. Her nostril only looks big. It's technically still the same, because when we're measuring the nostril, we're measuring like this. We're measuring the outline of the nostril. These are still pretty close to each other, but what you did is you misunderstood. You made the shadow the actual shape and cavity of the nostril instead of the full cavity here. So you ended up making it look like the nostril itself was much, much smaller than. And that's not what's happening here in the reference. These are pretty close to each other still. They're not that different from each other. So this is a very big perspective misunderstanding, a big perspective change that you did to the nose, which is why the nose, you're looking at it, you're like, I did everything right, but things are still wrong. No, you got fooled by the contrast, and you thought the nostril cavity and shadow was the nostril outline is itself, and that's, I think, why you had that problem. The eyes, I'm not sure how many studies you've done so far, but if we find this here as well, yeah, the gaze, I think this is the same artist. The gaze is completely off. So again, we move into liquefy, and we're trying to focus the gaze. She's looking at someone. This person is completely derped out. There's a reason for that. That's you're missing realism because you did that. A big part of a portrait is the gaze. When you meet someone, you look at their eyes. When an audience meets your portrait, they look at the eyes. They look for that active gaze that makes it look alive. Alive is realistic. So having the gaze adds to the realism. It's not optional. It's not a stylization opportunity for you. Write that back, please. So yeah, if you want those brushes that I just recently made or released, you want to take notes, okay? Lucky, I want to win 2 weeks of form studies. Yeah, so proof of purchase for Portrait Studio would be just emailing us the invoice you got from PayPal. No matter which window you bought it from, you got an email. All right, so right here, I'm correcting the gaze. See that? Before and after. Look what it did to the eyes. I barely adjusted anything, you guys, but just take a look. Before, after. Take a look at the navigator. Keep your eye always on the navigator. While I draw, while I critique, you're watching the video, you may be doing something else, but look over at the navigator and see what I'm doing. Take a look at the difference in the navigator. You probably see a small version anyway on YouTube that acts like the navigator, which is essentially just zoomed out for you, so you don't have to constantly zoom in and out. You just look for the navigator to see if it's right. This is where we look to get a read. But then this is what happens with students. And they see this shadow right here. See this? They see this guy. And they think, hey, I can go darker. No, you don't. This whole thing, this value and this value are practically the same. What happens is there's a little split of light in between, and you're missing that. So you just grab some of the light. And this is just the shimmer of her makeup. It starts at the inside. And it just moves up. Okay, now we have that differentiation between this plane and this plane, which look in completely different directions. So you've stylized the eyes, the face is asymmetrical, the nose is a little bit off. One half of the face completely orbits away from the center vertical line of symmetry. So this side is completely just gone. And then you sit there and ask yourself, why does this look off? Why does it look off? What am I not seeing? You might not be flipping your canvas. You might not be interrupting your tunnel vision. You might be misinterpreting outlines. You might be still thinking in outlines. Maybe you should start thinking in shades, or maybe you should start thinking in geometries. There's an answer to every one of your predispositions when it comes to your mistakes. Every mistake is a predisposition. Write that back to me. Can anyone explain what that means or guess what that means? I'll wait for the answer. Good. The gaze adds to the realism. You don't have a stylistic choice with it. You don't have stylistic freedom with the gaze. Not until you actually dedicate time to developing a style and actually sitting there and thinking about one. Style takes effort. Style is not accidental. Don't confuse style with habit. If you flip your canvas and you're still not seeing it, flip it vertically. Take a step away from your painting. Zoom out. Use your navigator. Think about your geometries. Maybe you're seeing something that's a little bit off. Maybe it's just a mileage thing. It'll take some time. Maybe you're not flipping it enough. Maybe you don't flip it for long enough. Maybe you flip it and then what? You go back to your original flip. You don't stay in the flipped version. When I say flip your canvas, I mean work in the flipped. Do you guys do that? Wait a second. Do you guys even do that? Do you guys work continuously in the flip, or do you just flip it and flip back? Because that's not what I mean. All right, when I say flip your canvas and someone says, oh, I do that already. Do you stay in that? Because now I'm freaking out. Do you stay in that flip, or do you flip back and continue to work? It doesn't mean anything if you flip back, because you're not fixing anything. You want to continue working in the new vantage point so that you're fixing as you go. You flip back again, you continue working, flip back again, continue working. 5, 15, 30-minute intervals, you keep doing this. Yes, it means you draw what you think it's supposed to look like. My mom says I was a predisposition. So it means you're not replicating what you're seeing. You're applying what you think you see based off previously obtained knowledge, be it right or wrong. Excellent, Cody. Beautiful answer. So you're not actually seeing anything. You actually have a blind spot. It's just a blind spot in your map. And out of that, you end up making more mistakes because you think it looks good. You think it still looks good. It doesn't. It doesn't. And you end up seeing all these mistakes in my paint overs. People tell you something's still off. People are telling you it still looks weird. That horrible word that they use, it looks weird. A long time ago, I decided that I was going to critique, and I was going to critique with real content, because for the longest time, I was critiqued with those words. It looks weird. It looks off. It's just the worst way to critique someone. But that's how people who don't know how to explain what they mean. So there's still value in the fact that they still think it's weird. And the weirdness comes from the fact that you are stuck in one angle. Everything is warped and leaning in one angle because only one side of your brain is working towards the symmetry instead of both sides. Your balance is off, even in your visual perception and the way you organize symmetry in a scene. Yeah, and then I have to remember to flip back eventually, and then everything looks odd in the original flip. You gotta just keep doing it. I flip and I cry. No, really, I keep it at the flippo. That makes you, that mistakes are bad habits, tendencies based on what you think is right or not what you actually see. Mistakes are bad habits based on what you think is right, not what you actually see. I don't know what you mean. No, Virginia. I thought you were supposed to see what is wrong and flip back to fix it. Oh, no, no, no. In traditional, maybe, because we're stuck with traditional. But no, you continue working in the flip. You actually continue working in the flip. You don't flip it and flip back. That's definitely not what we do. Before, after. The gaze just really helped out. The size of the mouth is pretty big in your version. And it's a stretch of what was already big in her. She has a very big mouth here. We would consider this a person with very sharp features and a very big mouth. So for a female face at least. So we want to kind of copy what's going on with her features, because you want to save that for the tomboy, for the love interest. Love interests always have big mouths in games. Just think Witcher. And we want to just be careful not to misrepresent the gender every single time. one good thing came out of net neutrality, and it kind of just eclipsed over all those SJW people trying to convert children into, you know, those people giving children sex ed on YouTube, those creeps, those fucking halfway pedophiles. Anyway, I'm sorry, what the hell am I saying? So right here, shrunk the mouth, fix that little error. There is a slight little shadow just around here. And darken. I'm just going to continue that little shadow right over there. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing everywhere else. I'm going to focus the light only to one side. So I haven't blocked in enough. I've just been talking about other stuff. So this light, this shadow, oops, this light here goes all the way to the base of the nose. Then we've got a really strong, yeah, they make little, like they use puppets as if they're teaching a kindergarten class, and they tell the children, hey, you're not really a boy, you're not really a girl, genitalia does this, and your evil parents are trying to make you do this. There's channels on YouTube that do that. I don't know if they're still up. I haven't really checked them out. I cringed to infinity, so I haven't really checked them out. I hope they've been taken down. But yeah, at least net neutrality shut those morons up for a little bit. We thought it was the end of the world listening to them talk. And then I'm just going to discuss this little shadow you have here. Again, this is all exposed to the light. So right over here. And then some more over here. Then we've got this cast shadow like that. It's really creepy. They got puppets and stuff. Fucking creep. Hope you go to jail. And just doing that. So the day in the life in Istebrak's class. Random insults under her breath while she discusses fundamentals. So right over here. Alright, and then again, before, after. Tiny little changes that you should have been capable of considering how advanced you are in what you did with the eyes. But, you know, to be the best at eyes, that you'll always end up drawing something accidental like this. There's always something that holds back that person who went by. Not that it's about likes, but they felt something was off. And so that person who swiped into your painting swipes right back away. And it's that weirdness that throws them off. But something like this is what keeps them looking. They're wondering why they see a familiar face on the computer screen. The more you mess with the familiarity, the more you mess with the audience's ability to continue gazing at this. So you're sacrificing a great deal when you're not taking care of these warps. And the warping that happens is when you're not flipping. Not flipping leads to warping. Write that back. At this point, it's not really that problematic. The 3/4 view is just so slight. I would discuss, you know, kind of moving this over into that, but I have to jump into the other paint over. So hopefully this was a little bit enlightening for you to flip your canvas all kinds of ways, see what you can get. Same exact issues here, so I'm not going to look at this. Let's take a look at this fella. Let's have a little bit of fun. Let's give this guy a really big lesson in silhouettes. So there's that. And then I'm gonna go here and just do this. Okay, so this could be anything. And don't tell me it's a head just because you just saw one little bump in the ears. I have never in my entire life seen a human head that is in 3/4 view. In 3/4 view, remember that. This was 3/4 view. That looks like this. You know, that looks like a perfect egg shape. How about if we just took the shape of the head alone, which kind of extended to down here? It's a seed. It's a little sunflower seed. All right. This could be a mountain that's all kind of shaped funny. This could be a cactus. This could be anything. Why is it, and this is, a lot of you deal with this. A lot of you have this problem. This is an exaggeration of the problem. This is a really bad case of it. But why do you guys forget that the silhouette is an opportunity to render? Just in the silhouettes, we should have seen a bump for the temple and the eye socket, then the cheekbone, then going down into the jawline. Then we've got some distortions of the silhouette based off the beard. Then a kind of a larger ear orbit because we are in 3/4 view. So it's a bit more wide. Then a couple bumps on the cranium, the kind of the parietal lobe, I think it's called. And a little bit on the top. Kind of a little dome. Men have this little bump over here. Then we've got the thickness of the neck. You're forcing the visibility of the shoulders because the canvas is too small. All right, so this would have helped us out. Yeah, absolutely. This is unmistakably, if this was the silhouette, undoubtedly this would have been a human head. But this is not the case. We had this. The beard also very, very abstract. This kind of stuff you get away with as a sketch. Just like last time, I sketched a really quick version of this. What you guys did, and maybe we can kind of like see a similarity between, you know, the cartoon version. Like, let's say it's that scientist guy, really similar to that kind of guy that they used to mimic Steve Jobs in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs too. I love watching movies like that because the way they create caricatures is beautiful. You know, but this is good as a cartoon. Something from Rick and Morty, I guess. Kind of a really bored scientist. No, let's just make him bald. This is fine. This reads. This is great. This is exactly what we want to see. Variety in cartooning. But it has no role to play when we have shades, when we have all this stuff. Another big problem that you had is the eye socket space. Look at this. This is very feminine. This is very sexy eyes, sleepy eyes. Again, let's make the cartoon equivalent of this and see how it reads. Right? This is a female eye. We don't draw men with this kind of eye. When we draw cartoons of men or something like that, we kind of leave things squared, really low space, not a lot of upper eyelid space. And kind of this is what we would do for a male cartoon shape. Kind of drawing the San Diego Comic-Con eye. Okay? So this is kind of good for male. This is good for female. High eyebrow arc. And something like that. But again, has no role to play. None of these are excusable if you interchange them between genders, especially that in a full render. It just doesn't work like that. This has a very specific role, and the male face has a very specific role, and they all source out of this just the basic general differences between male and female. So it's a lot of ways that you've made this mistake, and I'm not sure which one it is because I haven't seen more of your work. This eye is smaller than this eye, or it should be kind of the opposite. More variety over here, and really the way I would just start fixing this, just really quick topical changes, is by starting with the eye socket. Then tucking that in, the flatness of the forehead and the temple, the straightness. Then the cheekbone. The eye size difference. I can see that you're a beginner and you're still dealing with a lot of stuff. But no matter how good you get, this will always come back to haunt you. Your work will always have this. I have a lot of videos available right now on how to draw eyes, and you're missing a lot of stuff. The circular shape, the inner and outer corner, kind of little ridges here and there. You're missing all of that. The nose is very, very small for a male. Needs to be much bigger. The eyes just have no emotion in them, no spirit in them. You really need to give them some more activity, and the activity starts in the gaze. You guys can see this in all kinds of cartoons. When someone like spaces out or someone is possessed, like an anime, everyone gets possessed in an anime show somehow, some way. They're kind of just blacked out. And then there's the, which I have to do in the new liquify. There's the eyebrows, which need to be much more flat. This provided us with some semblance of realism. I think a great deal of realism. I'm not sure if you're drawing from a specific race anymore because the value of the skin is so bright. So darker skin, kind of like African, we kind of do have that plump lip, but I'm just going to go based off what you drew here, which is kind of like a Middle Eastern. I'm not sure if you were using that in your reference. This is very, very white, very olive skin. So I'm just going to thin out the lips a little bit. And then select this, go to before my liquify. And then just make sure I didn't distort the eyes in any way. Then I'm going to take care of that super sexy sleepy bedroom eyelid space. And we just do that by decreasing the space. And he just looks a lot more manly. The cheekbones are feeling a little bit feminine, so the way to fix that would be to just lower the cheekbone. Have a lower cheekbone. High cheekbone, very feminine. Low cheekbone, very masculine. Okay, so just these alone have helped out. I'm actually going to, because aesthetically it is possible to get a pointed beard, I'm just going to help you out a little bit and just give it a bit more of a natural square. If that was a must part of the design, then you know, all the power to you. So over here, using oil brush number 2, I'm just going to cut off the rest of the body so that we have focus only on the neck. Over here. And I'm going to try to just get rid of that extra highlight around. Kind of keep it a low cheekbone. So, diagnosis. You have no geometric anatomy in the eyes, the nose, mouth, nothing. You have no shape study. Study some shapes, cylinders, cubes, triangles, spheres, anything. Just study them so you know what to do when you come upon them in the face. The face has a lot of those shapes in it. You probably used a reference, but you didn't look at it enough. You definitely probably didn't even flip the canvas. You are not being aware of what you watch. I know you've watched cartoons. I know you've seen cartoons. If it looks funny to you, it's because it reminds you of a cartoon. The funny factor isn't just for laughing. It's a signal that you're not getting the right response. If you're getting funny out of your painting, that's the wrong response to get. It should be familiar. And then you address kind of like boring features with stylization eventually in your journey. But just here, there's no attention paid to any of the major fundamentals. Good to you for trying a painting, but now it's time to put this mistake behind and develop some form knowledge. He's still very beautiful. His eyes are still very large. I've seen men that look like this. It's a bit too beautiful. It kind of looks like a woman with a beard to me, camouflaging or hiding among the troops or something like that. To make him more masculine, I'd lower the eyebrows even more. I'd shrink the eyes. I'd shrink the eyelid space even further. But do you see like how sexy he kind of looked? Okay, so yeah, there's more resources available for you. That mistakes like this should be just a one-time thing. You shouldn't be drawing more than one painting with this kind of mistake. You're staying in the same muddy water. You're not moving forward. For this piece, it's supposed to be underwater, but really she doesn't feel like she's underwater. I know you used a reference, so that might be why you kind of got the wrong feeling, but it just doesn't feel like she's underwater. You gave us too much fat towards the backside. We don't gain fat out there. I'm going to give a little bit of an indentation just around the diaphragm. We gain fat up here, but when it comes down to this, especially with her low body fat, it really wouldn't be that thick. Her torso felt very, very thick. So I gave that a little indication. I think your choice of the black background is a little bit of a mistake, but that's fine. But this texture out here is a big mistake. I'm just smudging that away. The texture is throwing everything off. Is it like a forest scene? No? So don't use forest type leaf textures. For it to look like she is underwater, I'm going to have to duplicate layer. The source of light is warm, so I'm going to keep anything that the light hits as warm. But I'm going to move over into the cools, into the greens, into those murky. Doesn't this feel like it's underwater now? I just did a color change. That was it. I just did a color change, and it already feels like it's underwater. Because underwater, we have an entirely new atmosphere. We have an entirely new world underwater. Color acts very differently underwater. Light acts very differently. Water only gets super dark the deeper you get in the water, lighter the higher you get towards the water. Then we've got the fact that we don't really have anything to indicate any kind of like breathing. So that's another thing why it didn't feel like it's underwater. But all of that was just accessory, right? Except for the, shadow of the murky lake. If it was nighttime, we wouldn't get all this internal glow. If she was glowing, where's the outer glow, the soft light kind of bloom, that glow that surrounds something that is a light source? There's nothing explaining you have half fundamentals everywhere you go. And then you give us daytime values like she's jumping in the air under the sun. This is wrong. So we cool it down. This looks like it has water. If you want to keep some of this light source, go ahead and erase wherever you had some sunlight peeking through. But the water has a color to it. Water does have color. Write that back to me. Water has filled with just particles and crap just floating around that kind of just throws everybody off. Her hair would turn into a gray if her hair was red, but she's inside like murky, dirty lake water that's a bit gray. Her hair would just desaturate into a gray. She wouldn't get to keep her red hair. Unless there's a lot of daylight falling right into the water, which means that all of this can't be black. So you see how you're half in, half out, no matter what I try to do? There's always a half in, half out fundamental that's going on. So is it daytime? No. Is it nighttime? No. Is she glowing? No. But is she defying the rules of light? She's glowing on her own? Yes. Your reference was really photo edited, and you're missing atmosphere. Especially if you're underwater, you need atmosphere. You need thick atmosphere. It's just a bunch of thick stuff. And it does very different things to your portrait. Then there's the fact that her skin might get a bit more cool and purple towards the tips. She is underwater. So that would, we could definitely see the difference in skin tone change the lower we go. Green is great for that eerie effect or that ghostly effect. Blue also really feels like underwater. This looks wonderful as the source of like moonlight or something. And if it is moonlight, and let's just go with the easy one. If it is moonlight, because I can't change this to daytime. If it is moonlight, we're going to have some glow to her to explain why she doesn't have shadows doing this. So if this was nighttime, her shadows would be doing something like this. Her feet would be getting darker the further in they get. And then you actually have an atmosphere. This is very rough, so don't mind it. It'll actually feel like she's underwater. So this will, kind of make a little bit more sense. You need to show where the hot spot is of the environment and the glow of the sun and the bloom that moves downward to reveal her. That looks like it's more light environment accurate. Okay? But that's not what we're doing. That's not how we're going to explain it. That's paint over number 1. That's version number 1, let's say. And then let's move back to before we did this. Okay. And then try version number 2, which is if she's glowing. And that would be with a soft light layer. So you can't be half in, half out in every aspect. You gotta follow some kind of rule. And just because you painted the face well or the body well doesn't mean you're excused from all the other fundamentals. So this is another great alternative. Okay, this is a wonderful alternative actually. I like it. I would choose this one. And that kind of feels a little bit more, strong. Either, whatever choice you end up making though, the light at the top is too much. You need to just dim that a little bit. It needs to be about her. Her reflection shouldn't be that much of a contest. Okay, so you've got this version which considers one aspect, which is nighttime. She's glowing inside out, which explains why she's not shadowed. This would be top-down light source. A little bit more boring, but accurate. And this is what you started off with, which is, what is it? Is it daytime? You can't just be creative. You know, you can't just be all creative after following so many rules. You followed a lot of the rules with this. It looks great. Just as a grayscale, though. It looks great. But when it comes to what you did with the colors, you didn't follow any more rules. You can't be, you know, half in, half out. You choose one and you follow it. I like this one because it kind of leaves you with that really minimalism value diversity. Okay, any questions? Thick atmosphere. Water has a ton of other element mixtures in it. At least I don't think she's drowning in distilled water. Yeah. Or else it's going to look like a water commercial. A bottled water commercial. Those were always really just cheap feeling. Yeah, some people love the top-down light. Yeah. I really love this one. This one is, the darkness is perfect for it. The fact that, you know, it doesn't really explain if it's nighttime or daytime. She does not have enough light coming off the moon to show her off. So clearly she's glowing inside out, which answers all our questions conveniently. What would it look like if the canvas was rotated 180 degrees? Does that mean... What the hell? Why isn't it letting me rotate? Did I turn off OpenGL? Enable OpenGL. I don't rotate. Oh, there we go. I'm sorry. You mean like this? Meh. This one's more interesting. Or a wall of water. Let's see this one. Oh, come on. What? Oh, I'm using the wrong button. I don't know. I don't think the composition is good for that. And then finally we have the fact that it's a tile canvas. It's just a simple choice. Just extend it to one, what's it called? One dude. Duplicate layer. Oh, duplicate layer. Merge down to one side. God damn it. Not really sure what's going on. I think all of these have eraser marks on them. Oh, never mind. No, they don't. So, sorry, bear with me. Okay. All right. So I would just move the canvas this way to one pole. That's what I was trying to say. Maybe move her lower, maybe move her over. Crop it a little bit differently so it carries up vertically instead of being just an awkward little tile, which, as you heard my monologue last class, is good for nothing but cheap convention merchandise you buy that unravels by the time you get home. Stupid little tote bags. Stupid little tote bag pictures on them. So this is the only alternative I see other than repainting the painting completely. From my professional opinion, this is the only one you have that saves the painting or salvages what you have. Because it answers all the questions without you having to do too much work. But then remember these rules, though, for next time. You don't always have a quick fix like this to make things look good. Okay, so before, after, no. Alright, fine. Oh, shit. Oh, no, I'm fine. Okay, so. Okay. Before, after, and then the canvas change. Okay? This is it would be an amazing book cover or something like that. Be careful not to copy too much for personal work from a photo reference because you can get sued. Okay, for this piece, I have a lot of problems with this piece because the lighting isn't really responding to an accurate source. It feels like you just eyeballed what the lighting was doing. This is the only light in the area, and you're doing it and kind of like freestyling it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get into Portrait Studio. I'm going to turn off the I'm going to turn that off. I couldn't do it with that. I'm going to turn this light on. I'm going to increase its strength. I'm going to turn on the indicator and move this. Okay, let's turn it all the way up. And then just move it this way. Get it a little bit lower. Okay. Let's turn off the background color. Let's turn it all the way down, or just something like this. I'm going to turn off the floor. And I'm going to go back up to my spotlight, to my point light, and just rearrange. Kind of like keep it at an angle, so I'm not really sure what she's doing. It's kind of like right in front of her. So press W to move. Okay. And then that would be it. I'm going to make her look down. Model, whoops, facial features, cheeks, ear, head and neck, head twist, head lean, head lean, curl, looking down. Okay. Alright, so no matter how low I take this, there's still a massive shadow needed on her nose, which you didn't have. And you threw off the lighting like that. So I haven't actually, have I turned them on? Have I turned on the enhanced? Yeah, I have. So this reference here, I'm just going to screenshot that and bring it up. This reference here is pretty much really the only kind of thing you have that shows complete like light fidelity, I guess we can say. Finding a reference that is exactly this position. Anything else would really throw off what the nose is doing. But you've illuminated this as if there's a top-down light. The brightest point is the chin, but you have the forehead and the chin at equal light. I know this is very cartoony, and I know it's not, but you know, I used to say someone might, you know, get a camera or examine whether or not you use the right kind of lighting. That's what references are for, so you can avoid that. Be the person who examines it first before somebody comes in and says that is completely off. You can get away with this stuff with top-down a lot. You can get away with a lot of this stuff with top-down, but you do not get away with it when it comes to like an environment light that comes from directly below. So I'm just going to follow this exactly. I'm going to darken the forehead. I'm going to darken the indentation on either side of the nose. Darken the cheekbones. No bounce light right now. If you're gonna have bounce light, then just use it. Don't be half in, half out. What that does is it just diffuses your core shadows to kind of be like these really shy shadows, and then you're just throwing off the core shadows behavior with the primary. If you have a secondary, do it with balls. Don't just, you know, let it hover in there, because it's just gonna look a little bit kind of like it's gonna diffuse without really making a presence, is what I'm trying to say. So if there was a bounce light somewhere nearby of some moonlight or something like that, then just go for it. Let it sit there. Let it change the temperature of the painting. Let it be a beautiful clash between cool and light. I mean, cool and warm light. just do it all the way. Don't do it half in, half out. But that's the secondary. We're still not done with the primary. So again, I'm just trying to correct and show weakness in this primary, because the primary as a flame is weak. It's not, doesn't work like a universal light, like a moon that's really bright, even then it's weak, but like a sun. Okay, then I'm going to grab this exact color. I'm going to go up into normal. I'm going to whiten it up just a little bit. It doesn't keep its color the further it gets. And I'm just bringing that color in all these areas. What happened? What happened? Why did my tablet freak out? Okay. That was weird. Yes. Apply it. Okay. All right. That was really weird, but is everybody still with me? That was super weird. I don't know what just happened. I don't know what just happened, but it's okay. Let's just... Is it still working? Is it still good? Let me see on YouTube what's going on. Okay, you guys are still lagging behind, so I'm just going to go into this. So I'm adding this light according to what I see here. The eye sockets now don't look away from the light, they look towards it. With the nose, look at what's needed for the nose. Trust your reference. Write that back. Trust your reference. It's going to make things look beautiful. If there is the slightest little cheaty shadow, light on the nose bridge, just to help you through, you can add it in. Just the slightest little guy. But you chose this light source. This isn't necessarily the most flattering light source to give a girl. But you chose it, so deal with it. It's okay. It's still going to look good. People aren't going to think that your painting is ugly because she has a shadow going across her face. They know what it's like to be in, in a bonfire type situation. This person still looks like a human being. It's not a complete deviation away from what's familiar. She also looks like she's closing her eyes instead of looking at the flame. So she looks like she's in like a trance or something. There's a slight little shadow after the bump of the eyeball. Just the slightest little one, because hers isn't, she's not closing her eyes for us. But you see this shadow right here? Same thing, but her eyes are closed. Okay, as for the colors, look at these purples. How dare these purples think they can come through? What is the cool equivalent, a warm equivalent of purple? We're just not moving this position. We're just moving into these. This is the warm version of that exact color. And we're using color to shift them back. The only light source is the flame. That's it. That's the only light source we have. Anything that isn't looking at the flame and has like a nearby, see this universal you're using? Go ahead and make it that exact color. Then you'll have this beautiful clash between warm and cool. Then you got a green background, just to fuck your life up even more. You got a green background. Why do people like to torture themselves? She's in a forest and it's nighttime, so dark that you can see the glowing flame, little candle she's holding, or fire magic. Then the night is dark enough and blue enough that you don't see green trees. You only see blue, green, or gray trees. I'm just cooling the hair off a little bit more. Then you've got the fact that the lower part of the kind of diamond shape of her chest area is facing the light source directly. And that means that we get a little bit of this. It's going to be a little bit more white. I'm going to try to do this with a layer mode. Okay, pyramids. Remember your shapes, boys and girls. This isn't just happy fun time. This is some real fundamentals we're talking about that make you help you make decisions like this. Right, really big light that you're missing out on her shape right here. It's completely flattened. You're missing that. I'm gonna cool it down. Warm it up even more. Just a little bit like that. And then we've got the flame, which is white, which is bright enough, but it's just not white enough. If it's a flame that strong. Also, it seems like the flame ends at her palms. It's an upward, like traveling flame, so I really think you need to give it a little bit more dispersion. So it feels like a flame that is, just like fire, hard to control. It's unpredictable. It's got an asymmetrical pattern to it. Whereas water just points down, fire points up, and all hell breaks loose. Okay. Then there's the fact that flames have different colors. They've got oranges in them, they've got yellows at the center, and white at the very center, and a blue right where it's burning. You have all of that. Why aren't you using it? It's going to really be a nice variety for the painting. Nice color variety. When you have a singular secondary light source that comes with a color, it changes everything. I'm just going to desaturate wherever there's shadows or slight shadows. Because it's just the only color in there, so what it does is that it kind of affects what we're seeing to be the new color. And what you want to do is allow some variety to still be around. I'm just trying to add some color to this. I think you need to work on this shirt a little bit more. But what I'm going to do is just bring in the orange to be a little bit lower. Never mind, I'll use that. Which means it has to be a little bit darker on the outside. Orange is darker than yellow. Highlights. So when it's darkened, we can bring in the saturation. Darken to a mid-tone. Sorry. I'm just going to find like a nice orange to throw in there. It isn't yellow all around. Where it is yellow, we can bring our dodge tool and just go nuts. And it'll start bringing in the yellow I need. Oops. As well as the white. I'm just going to carry this yellow everywhere. This is just for the color. I'm going to get some more of that orange. And then right at the center, right at the very, very center, I'm going to go full white and just kind of shift into the blues. I'm not really worried about the texture, just the color. So see how much more like a flame it feels. And all these licks of the flame have different coolness levels. So sometimes you have yellows kind of moving up a little bit higher than the oranges, but it's never going to get white hot out there. So you ever seen a flame, it does all of this. And see how warm and intense this is, so that this shirt is still too purple. No matter what color that shirt had, it wouldn't be enough to reveal the color she's wearing, the true color, which is visible under white light. It would just be something like this to really match, because that light source is so strong. It isn't just a flame, it's like a full... like a candle. It's like a full, fully formed fire. It's very hot. So that warmth goes everywhere. But again, just only on the areas that are facing it. And if you want to stylize, you can stylize like this. Stylization is done best when it's built on a fundamental. Write that back. That means, I see how the background is a blue nighttime? We can choose the exact same color, but just saturate. So we can do this. This will still look good, just as long as it follows the rules. This still looks okay. This is a lot of what Disney does. They love exaggerating stuff. But that shirt, whatever the color is of the shirt, apply the orange to it and see what happens. If it was a green, you apply the orange. There's a lot of red and orange. What gets left behind is the yellow. After that green or that blue, after that yellow takes the red out. You're left with a yellow of the orange. So then you just have the yellow. And it'll just look like a nice little, I don't even know if I made sense what I said. I hope you were following, but you know, it looks like a nice pale shirt. Not so much monochromatic. But again, I'm just a little confused about what you're doing exactly with this shirt. These little dudes, these little wisps, they look like feathers. They don't really look like embers. And because it's a portrait, I'm just going to run some dodge tool over her face. Hope I didn't desaturate her face. Okay. Shouldn't her skirt be getting some light from the flame? Yeah, there should be a shadow off the hand and everything. So I'm just going to do it real quick. It should do a little something like, no, not this color, this one. A little something like that. And that would be enough. And then you've got that secondary light somewhere out there. You can desaturate the blueness out here and just keep it towards wherever the light source is coming from. But it's still technically blue. Okay, and remember, a dark scene feeds the flame better. So if you allow the shadows to really take over with like a darkened layer, just take a look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And then we'll erase. We'll erase out here. We'll erase radially towards the flame. We'll erase everything the flame can reach. We'll erase around her face. And just look at that atmosphere that we created. By limiting light and painting less, we do more. We'll erase around all the subsurface scattering around her hand. By the way, beautiful gesture on the hand. Maybe there's a bit of a shine factor to her shirt that does a bit of that. Or I'm not really sure how. Abu, kick and ban that person. Maybe there's a little bit of light right here along her hair. Just the slightest little sliver of light on her bangs. And then to maximize the environment of the outdoor world, we just add more of that blue. So it's different strength levels for the flame allows you to choose a dominant light environment, which would be, in this case, the nighttime scene. If you're confused, just watch more of my classes. You'll notice a lot of this is repetition. All right, so her reflective armor, we'll get some of that environment. Her shirt, or her sleeves, we'll get a little bit more. Not that much. They're still technically weak. I don't want them to read as lines. Okay, so this was it before we darkened. It was still okay, but it was just cheesy in my opinion. This kind of stuff is really what rocks the house. And I'm just going to cast the shadows. At the end of the day, I always throw a darkened layer just to make sure I haven't, just noobed it out with excessive exposure. Have some maturity with your work, It's not always about max exposure, max light, maxed out features. So before, after. One of these has more atmosphere, one of these has very oversaturated, confused light environment, red and green. That's not how it works. Make the flame stronger. By all means, go get your, you know, this is a no man's land value. This is allowed to happen. You're allowed to make this full on white, like stupid white. Do it. But just don't assume that this tiny little flame will create this much exposure. It's got to be a huge room level flame for you for your whole face to be illuminated like this. It has to be a huge bonfire. So weaken it, soften it. Would it be a bit much to color dodge the secondary lighting? You don't want to do that, because then you've got this. And now everybody's glowing with magic. One of these has to be on fire. One of these doesn't. So you can make this on fire and undo what I did with this with the flame. One of these has to be dominant. This looks messy and cheap. This looks more like a lighting key where they're exaggerating all the lighting they are intending for that scene. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. But not as much as before. Tiniest little bit. Because in a lighting key, you want to exaggerate everything because you're instructing the lighting engineer or whoever how you really want this lighting to look, so you're kind of really exaggerating it. But this is still a beautiful scene. So in order for light to shine, there is a lot of darkness. This is not a Star Wars sponsored class. Yeah. Alright, so I hope that is helpful for you. Then we have this big mamma jamma. Alright. I don't know if I have the balls to do this. I don't know. Step number 1. I really need some synthwave music to really deal with this right now. This is perfect for synthwave. So first of all, the gesture is all wrong with the hand. She would be doing this, and for her to properly look like she's holding on to the rocks, she would need to do we need to move her forward. I think her arm would be even more behind. Okay, tuck that behind even more. I got the swell of the breasts. This might be even under. So the arm was all wrong. And then in a scene like this, you're usually seeing a stronger shoulder. Like this. And just like a lower head, a lower breastplate. The breasts are like on completely different planes. So I'm just gonna smudge out this. There's no outlines in someone made of glass. Nobody has to write this back but the artist that made this. There are no outlines on people made of glass. They're made of glass. They're one big highway for light. There's no outline necessary. That means you had to illuminate where the breast was near the top. Okay, you cast no shadows. Even glass, yes, casts a shadow, the slightest little shadow, but it casts it. Then I'm going to lean her upper body inward. So that it looks like she's actually holding on to the rock. I'm going to let her hand disappear behind the rock. Okay. And then we've got, God help me, and though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, I shall fear no evil. Sometimes you get challenges like these for your critique hour, and I just really want to take advantage to show, you know, all the benefits of the fundamentals, but I feel intimidated because there's just so much work to do. But I'll do my best to show you guys what I mean. So just these changes alone were good for the anatomy. Then there was the fact that you had, that you had all of these colors in there in the light source. There's no sun that is pure yellow. It's white, but it's a yellow white. There's two words I'm using, yellow and white. I'm not saying yellow. From far away, when you're far enough, the sun looks very yellow compared to the blue stars or younger stars or high mass stars. Looks very, very yellow compared to them, but it is not a pure yellow crayon. Filter, liquify, merge down. Rocks are also not yellow. Okay, so her shoulder is really what's in front. And her head was way too stiff. I don't know if you used the right reference, but her chest needs to be a little bit more relaxed because her spine isn't that popped out. She's got almost no neckline, which I have to adjust in a second. Oh man. Istebrak ain't afraid. I ain't no coward. Alright, so I gave her a neckline. Just like that. And the sky color is this mud. It's just mud. The sky color has this humongous beaming sun, and it's just 101 colors. The colors of a rainbow, a crayon package. Let the sky be its solid value. It's just a bunch of air with light in it, just floating around, doing what it wants, refracting how it wants, reflecting how it wants. The air itself is just one big prism, one big color. And that kind of leads me to my lesson, which is, this is glass. It only takes the color of the world around it, just like air does. The air is one big prism. Our atmosphere is one big, glass film that reflects light and gives us blue skies and all of that business. So this is the same thing. It's only going to reflect the environment around it. So she should have had more blue. You were closer to this with the leg than you were anywhere else. Okay, so I think that's it. I'm going to choose a daytime color, not some purple. And I'm going to just drop it there. Raise that up into a whiter value. Actually, just go ahead and let that be. And then now I have this as my selection. I'm going to get the yellow white of the sun, and then everything will fall into place. Your biggest mistake was that you forgot the sky around is bright. And in forgetting that, you didn't allow the glass to get the right environment it needs for this to really happen. You were way too concerned with that decorative rainbow that happens on a piece of glass than you were with the actual glass's reflection of the world around it, the material that you're talking about. So there are shadows, but there is a great deal of subsurface scattering. That was the first thing you forgot. So subsurface, where does it happen? Right around the center. Just somewhere out here. And remember, subsurface is saturation and illumination. Write that back. That means that we get our sponge tool on saturate, and we show the path of the light inside the glass. Wherever there's a shadow, there's something glowing inside out. And then we're just completely desaturating her. She's got too much yellow on her. Way too much yellow. This is all the way. This is 0. I would just rather have that, see that all the way. Then on her, I'm going to get a lot of that sky blue. So I'm just going to get the color. And now I'm bringing in saturation where it really happens. Okay, so that's a lot of the sky color. And we're staying 2 colors clash. The yellow and the sky color. That's it. If I were to do this, so I'm going to select and delete everything around her. And get that sky color and put it behind her. And then decrease her opacity. That would have been closer to what she would actually do in a light environment. And then, how do you make her visible? Well, there's the fact that glass is shiny. And then you have extreme spikes of highlight coming out of nowhere. So we can do this to her. See how I didn't erase it when she got close to the rock? Because the rock is in between. She's a piece of glass. Then, if you want to merge that down and just, again, bring in those pure whites. Go all the way up to 100% with your dodge tool. And just do what you do with dodge tool. Just make it pure white. You can do something like this where you're slightly darkening the background just so those whites come out. Oh, okay, I don't need to do that. I have this. Just the slightest little darken. See how it brings out the whites, but you got to saturate again. So it just depends on which part of the gradient of the sky we are in. And glass will cast a shadow wherever it's not in the way, will cast a shadow, but we got to bring in more of that color of the background right into everything here to show that she's translucent or transparent. Right into the arms. Not here, because that her torso's in the way. Right along just the little stem. Wherever the bone would be, that's where we put the reflection. And then again, go haywire. Get all the white you want. Throw it along all of the edges, all of the rims. Wherever you feel like there would be reflection. This is the lesson I wanted to show you. Considering you were talking about glass and reflection and sunlight and midday, you had absolutely none of that going on in the painting. So I'm going to merge that down. I'm going to merge that down. I'm going to turn that on. We don't need much after that. Okay, I don't know how her hair would be. I don't know if she would even have hair that can flow. She's made of glass, but she also has like a liquid version of glass wherever. I'm sorry, my scientific mind doesn't let me watch movies properly. Just ask Abu, he fucking hates me. So I'm just asking all these questions right now. So my dodge tool, look at this. Now that I have blue in there, dodge is going to do some crazy shit. I'm going to let the eyes go full on white. Might threaten to flatten it a bit, actually. So I'm just going to do the sides full on white. And again, we have, once we merge everything down, I'm actually going to keep this safe. Once we merge everything down, we will have like this really strong, oops, really strong, like I don't know, I mean, you could keep the dark one, you could keep the light one, it's really your choice. You can have it dark towards the bottom, but right here, this texture of the rock is just destroying the painting. But I don't know what it is. Is it like a zoom up of what your bed looks under a microscope? Because it looks like I'm going to see a bed bug anytime soon here. It's not a rock. It's some kind of microfiber that you're looking at through a... Find references. The rocks have surfaces. Rocks have planes. Rocks do this, you know, rocks have surfaces that look up at the light. Rocks have cubes. It's not just one clip art layer in front of the other. Okay, and then one last little thing would be that rainbow that you want so badly, which is going to be, I'm going to have to bring it in as a light rainbow because I don't have time to draw every single one. Images. So it would be something, this is perfect for that. So this is what I tell you when I tell you work smart, not hard. This is what I mean. Find a really, really good. I have a feeling this is what you originally imagined, but you just didn't know how to go about it, and it's because you didn't have enough of a breakdown of what light environment does. So I'm going to duplicate like 100 of these. And I'm going to start with 1 and just test out which would be the best. There we go. Found it right away. Color burn. And erase the sides with a soft brush. And then just like duplicate. So the reason why color burn looked great is because the only way color really pops is when we darken, but she's glass. So it means that there's somehow, some way, the rainbow dimmed out. The light dimmed out between, it was slowed down. When it's slowed, it's dimmed. And that's why the only way to really show it is with color burn, which darkens the values around it so the colors can come through. Do the same thing, rainbows are the same patterns all around. I'm going to put some on her thigh area, wherever the light just kind of shines through. And then color burn. And just get my smudge tool and just mess around. One thing that could be really cool is if you kind of selected only her body to so select inverse to lighten. So that means I'm getting rid of, what am I getting rid of? I'm getting rid of this. Okay, then I'm also getting rid of wherever we have layering. So that is in front of that. That is in front of that. And then, yeah, so just around like here. We got the torso right over here. We've got the arms. No, the arms are fine. We got this that I'm taking out. Watch what I'm doing. I'm taking out everything that has light in the way, or an object in the way of it. Then I'm going to really sneakily do a new layer. Get white. Pour it in all those areas that have light shining through them, and then just get a new one of these. Just like that, so we can show how translucent she is. Sorry about the buffering. So now she has some objects in front of each other. So filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Not that much, jeez. Just enough. So it looks like she's translucent. See, before, after, it'll look like she's more translucent like this. It'll look like she has areas that are brighter than other areas. Oh, it didn't buffer for you? Cool. Okay, and just like hair caught in the light, it's also going to kind of reveal a lot of the light through it. There might be a massive rainbow pattern. Oh, fuck. Duplicate layer. Okay. On the hair, just doing its thing. Yeah, I over-lightened. Color burn. Lighten one more time. Exposure was too high. Okay. And now would be really what we would I like the light one. I like the dark one as well. It's just so hard to choose. Here, I know what to do. I'll do both. I will get a whiter light, a lighter blue white for the top. Normal, please. Just for the top, and I'll keep the darker for the bottom. So now she looks like a more prismatic, I hate that word, character. I like this one because the light is kind of pointing towards this side, you know, like this. Maybe dark towards the middle. Without it, I also like how the highlights kind of drowning the face. But let's go ahead and flatten. Please find another texture for this. And I'm just going to correct the contrast one last time. The contrast is up, brightness is down. So we start with the brightness. Lower that and raise the contrast. Does it look all the way? Wait, what? I didn't save my contrast adjustment? What's going on? Alright. And then filter, sharpen. So a lot of light shows a lot of the object. And you see how nice it is? I let the lasso keep itself. See that? I let the lasso alone with this so I can actually see these edges that she has. So if you want to, you can go ahead and just add some random areas that are catching light like a diamond. And you don't blend these, leave them alone. Kind of like little prisms of the diamond, parts of the diamond cut that look directly at the light. Just like that, that are really helping the image out. But I'm going to leave it at that. I'm just going to get my sharpen layer, sharpen tool, and just sharpen away. I'm also going to saturate. Ooh, that was cool, saturating just in those areas. Alright, I'll keep that. Deselect. It wasn't in the proper sharpen. And then I'm gonna... Alright, I'm just waiting for the sharpen to finish up. Raise the saturation and then change the temperature. Okay, you want to add more whites, feel free. Dodge it up. Bring in some bloom. Whatever you want. But this is actually done in layers now. We actually thought in layers. And before you just had too much shadow. It did look retro, which was cool. But purple background that's too dark, yellow light that looks more like a laser. It wasn't really speaking what you were going for, which was that rainbow. And this is a bit after. Kind of want to make it a little bit more bright. There we go. It should be brighter than her. It should be. It's such a tricky little... White is such a tricky little guy. My favorite part is just this. How like consistent we were with the fact that she's translucent. If you could, if you can find something else to put behind her, like something purple, where if it gets in front of her, it gets a little bit more translucent, so we can see it, but only slightly, and it's kind of distorted when it's behind her, just to show that she's translucent. This is just some random line I made. Okay, just to show that she's translucent and all of that. But what you were going for before, you were never going to get that rainbow effect. It's more like a sunset, and the sunset wouldn't come from the top down. It would be more from the bottom by the time it gets this warm and yellow. And then you'd have a dark scene. Then you needed something secondary to make her visible and shine this much. Use no man's land values. So this is a little bit more accurate. And I really can't turn off my scientific mind, like the thinker, or kind of like thinking about the world of physics, or what I know about physics and light and what it does in an environment. I can't turn that off. And if you were going for some retro, desaturated, drawn with pencil crayons look from the 90s and 80s, I love that stuff. But that's not the kind of stuff that's going to get you a read that is this powerful. So that's it. That's all I have. I took a big leap doing this one. But I think it's worth it. I think you guys actually see what I'm talking about over here. But in order for you to have that big effect, you needed that light environment in the background to be bright enough. As soon as we brightened it, everything fell into place. A light environment is the most neglected thing ever. And that's it. I'm getting a little bit monotone, which means I'm tired. Yeah, that's it. So if you like what you saw today and you want to continue with us, go to the Google Plus icon on Istebrak.com and join the community. Read the rules. Make sure you're posting according to the rules. The challenge submission for the last day, which is going to be the holiday challenge, is next week. The 19th is going to be the last stream I have for a while. This is going to be the last stream, you guys. This is the second last time before we take a break, and we'll be back for the second. Actually, no, the second or the fourth. I think I'm back on the 4th. I made another mistake with the announcement. I think I'm back on the 4th, and that's when we're just gonna have our next. Where are you? Did I say the 5th? Did I say the 4th? The 2nd? No, I'm not gonna be back on the 2nd. I'm gonna try to be back on the 2nd. Just depends on how long family stays over for the holidays. You can't just really tell them, okay, right, let's go home. It's the 2nd. See you later. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be free. My house is going to be a crazy, noisy mess. So we might be back on the 4th, so I'll change that right. No, I can't change it now because I don't have the editing. So to recap on some announcements, the brushes are up. All of them are up for a big sale. For those who don't currently own my brushes, for those who can't afford any brushes at all, you have a chance to get them for free if you take good notes in today's class. And Portrait Studio Update is out officially, except for the hand model, which will be available very, very soon. After that, I will upload a tutorial on how to use Portrait Studio and a trailer about what it is. I will do a lot of after hours, though. I might just do some after hours where they're a little bit less formal, and I might just do after hours just throughout, just generating content, for writing my book. That's something big I'm going to be doing over the holidays. I'm so sorry I'm going to be off for so long. It's going to kill me. But I have to take this break. I have to publish this book. Family's coming over. It's a holiday. It's a big holiday. It's the only one we get, really. And I'll be doing after hours. So for those who don't know what after hours are, for those who are nicely stayed in the video, on the YouTube video, and didn't click away as soon as I said Google Plus icon, for those who stayed, after hours are just chill after hours that I do whenever I'm, ready to draw and just hang out with you guys. It's not a lesson. It's just me drawing in front of you guys and chilling and doing unbelievably annoying accents for anyone interested. If you're not getting any notifications, let me see where I can. You have to click on the little bell and enable it. If you're not enabling that bell, you're not going to get a notification that I'm live. I'll try to do early streams. I know the most favorable hour is like 3 p.m., 1 p.m. Those are great hours to stream in. I'll try to stream in so all of you can watch it. It's a great hour between all time zones. It's not that early, it's not that late, except for Australia, and New Zealand and stuff, but it should be somewhere around here. I don't see it because this is me, but right beside my subscriber count, that bell, please enable it. And that's it. The challenge, the holiday busy town challenge, is due on the 19th. For anyone who's finished it, make sure you're submitting before then. Make sure you submit your thumbnails. It'll be a really, really fun channel. Sorry, it is a fun channel. It'll be a really fun challenge, and I will try to get a guest speaker or my mods. I'm not sure which one I'm going for, or just me, but I will try my best to get a guest speaker for the 19th. And that's it. Thank you everyone for coming today. I really appreciate you guys. Just sticking here for another year and supporting me and doing all of that. Speaking of support, if you want to support some more, Patreon. I'm just going to be doing a complete overhaul change of what Patreon is for my channel. I'm going to have cute little gifts that I was helping me make. And it's going to be a lot more fun, an alternative to private tutoring. And just a great way to support the channel. Just give back if you're interested. Not a mandatory thing. That's it. Thank you everyone for joining today. Thank you everyone. I'll see you guys next week for our final class. Bye.